It is showtime, ladies and gentlemen. My favorite time of the week, 11 a.m. Pacific. And we're here to remove some roadblocks for speakers and coaches. Do it in all kinds of different ways. The person that I've got on today is so fantastic about automating your sales process. I think he may have automated himself because I haven't seen him in the green room yet back there. But I think it's, because the onslaught of the entourage trying to get people into, into the best seats. And that's why we're here. That's why we're talking very slowly this morning, because I'm waiting for my guest to arrive. So get in here, join raylov.com. We'll talk about other things if he doesn't show up. And if he does, great, we'll bring him back on. But you can join me live here and we can brainstorm some ideas, some amazing things. I have some great news to report. I'm doing the holiday $1 Million Holiday Challenge. And I did not get 100 people in there, but I have people who have put in extra money in their accounts to the tune of about $250,000 so far. So I've got about 20 people in. You can still, not too late. You can catch up, learn all this. People think that things are slowing down right here. If you want, right here, this QR code that takes you right to the link where you can sign up for the $1 Million Challenge. We do have a person in our green room right now who's part of that $1 Million Challenge. And, who doesn't want to talk to a TEDx expert? I'm bringing Terry Kingston to the stage. Terry, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm in my son's basement in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Just loving being with the grandkids. And yeah, great to be here.
It's always fun to have the little ones running around on Christmas time.
Oh, delightful.
It's so much fun. You get so much joy out of their joy, and it's amazing. Now I'm going to twist this into speaking just for a second here, Terry, because one of the things people think that charisma is something you have or you don't. That's not true. It's developed over years and years and years of practice. And one of the things that everybody who's charismatic has is this childlike awe and wonder, and it maintains throughout their life. So if you want to become more charismatic around Christmas time, this time of year, study the little kids and see what they go nuts over. And then how do you bring that back in your life? Look at the things that you don't see anymore because you've seen them so many times, and see what you can do to create that awe and wonder. If you look at, I'm looking at a fireplace right now in my house, and you look at all the things that go in between the bricks, and it's just, oh my God, who thought of doing that? Who thought of mixing that stuff up? So it's the awe and wonder that you have. And speaking of awe and wonder, Terry, I'm going to take you out just for a second because the man of the hour has arrived.
Perfect.
All right.
Sit quietly in the back.
Go back in the green room. We got a cheese board out for you, the hot tub. There's some Dove bars in the fridge. I'm going to take Terry out, and that sounds bad. Take Terry out. No, I'm not taking her out. I'm just removing her from the picture, and I'm going to bring the man, the myth, the legend, and I hope I get the last name right because I'm just going to say it like it's spelled. And this man's been all over the place. He is here to automate your sales process, automate your outreach. Please welcome Jeremy. Is it DeMerchant or is it
DeMerchant? Yeah, it's DeMerchant. It's
just like it's spelled.
I can barely speak a word of French, so we won't pretend.
There we go. And I was talking about bricks, and there they are. There's bricks. Someone put those together. Or it's a very clever wallpaper. Sometimes that happens.
It may or may not be a photography background. I'll never tell. But the bookshelf is real. So
got it. I love I loved all the logos that you have. And so my background comes from stand-up comedy, and that's where I originally got there. And so when I see as seen on NBC, Fox, this, that, the other thing, I have a friend that was an extra 3 times on Seinfeld. And so when she would get introduced, she'd have herself introduced as a regular on Seinfeld. And I was on Dateline NBC, but I wasn't involved in a murder. That I just want to set that straight. Back when it used to be a news show, but I would promote myself as seen on NBC. So it's like,
I
tell
mean,
us about your TV appearances. That's always
well, so yeah, so I mean, they weren't actually TV appearances, but what happened was the book that I wrote. So I co-authored a book called "Put Me in Coach." Maybe you can, no, it's right just outside my frame now because I'm standing up. Well,
good
we're
marketing.
live, so
You
let's just
hold
do
the
this, right?
book. You hold the book.
Boom.
Yeah, there we go. Put me in, coach.
Get it now on Amazon. So yeah, so I co-authored this book with quite a few other authors, and essentially we each wrote a chapter talking about our background, how we get into doing what we love. And I will tell you, my son loves the fact that he opens up a book he can pull off a shelf and sees dad's picture in it.
Absolutely.
But the pre-release, so we worked with a publisher, and the pre-release went up on Amazon, and you can pre-buy it, and I think it's done that way so that when it goes live, it processes all the orders. But ultimately, we ended up going number 1 in Canada, the US, and Australia, and top 100 in the UK, if I recall correctly. And so it became an Amazon bestseller. And that fact that got picked up as a bestseller got picked up by some of the affiliates of those major stations. So the affiliates of the CBS and ABC and all that. So it was essentially a press release that got promoted on all those stations. And so that's how that came to be. I wish it was a fancy, like walked on and get introduced by, a really well-known TV host or something, but it was not that. But I will tell you that it does help from a marketing side, like much like your friend said, a regular in Seinfeld, right? It's that my face, name, and the name of the book was picked up by these stations, and so it counts, I guess.
Here's the thing, and before you downplay what you do, one of the things that I talk about is I talk to solopreneurs about how to sell themselves and how to make this a business instead of a hobby. And we downplay our native genius to the point where we don't think it's unique enough to charge unique pricing. And the fact that you wrote a book that's on the bestseller list and you go, oh, I just did this and this. No, you wrote a book that's on the bestseller list. I did that for years with myself, and it kind of hurts. It hurts because your mindset is all you have. And I think it's fantastic that you're on all those things and you wrote a book. I haven't written a book. I've written a book. I just have never finished it. And these are the things that separate us, because there's so many people out there writing a book, even though you're not probably going to make money from a book, but it's the credibility and the authenticity. Having a TED Talk or TEDx talk, like what Terry talks about, it is a fantastic thing for your resume. And people go, really? Tell me more. If you're involved in the industry, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you got a TED Talk. It's like, oh, I just did this and I applied to like 4,000. They finally gave me one. No, you have a freaking TED Talk. And that's the things that proud of it and doing. It took me years to get over that kind of, I just talk. Who's going to pay for that?
Well, and I think that the thing is, and this is really key, especially for your audience, is, and I mean, I know you know this and we've talked about it, but when somebody steps on stage, the most valuable thing that you can do for yourself if you're the speaker, or for the speaker if you're the person introducing them, is make sure you've got some ability to build up their authority, because the way that their information, their impact, the transformation lands on the audience completely depends on those first few seconds. And so if somebody doesn't start off with picture yourself or I was sitting in my room on the edge of my bed, if there's not like some dramatic story to pull them in to start, which not everybody does, that introduction can be the difference to whether or not someone starts off engaged versus being totally disconnected. And so if you came up if I just came up to the front of the room and I was dressed like everybody else, and I stepped, I said, hi, my name's Jeremy. I've run a business for 10 years or so, and I'm going to help you sell. People are going to go, who is this guy?
Yeah.
But if you say, Jeremy DeMerchant is a #1 best-selling author, and thanks to Toastmasters, international award-winning speaker, and host of Sales Team Rescue podcast, and the founder of SalesEdge.io, and the CEO of Permission to Sell Consulting Group. and has helped people from Santa Monica to Singapore to double their sales in as little as a few weeks. That stuff matters. And if it doesn't, if the thing that you did doesn't actually impact the life of the person in the audience, it doesn't matter, because it helps them be more receptive, because you're building up that credibility. And so, to your point, yes, I'm downplaying the book, downplaying the scene on, but it really is like, if those things, whether it was me being interviewed on a talk show, or it was just the book being picked up in a press release, the fact that I can say, as featured on or seen on all those stations, means somebody who needs my help is more likely to listen a little more intently. And if that's all it does, it can change lives.
And here's one of the key things about that is that if you brag about yourself, people don't like it.
Right.
But if somebody else brags for you, people go, whoa, right? So if you started your talk with, I'm a best-selling author and I help people double their sales, they're like, oh, shut up, prove it, guy. But if you say this next person, like one of the people has already given a thumbs up to our talk today, James Jeffley, has been to the final 9 in the World Championship of Public Speaking twice, right?
Wow.
And so he could be introduced as, in these 2 years, our next speaker, James Jeffley, was recognized by Toastmasters as one of the top 9 speakers in the world. That is something people go, I can't wait to hear this person. And exactly. Your introduction, and it's just like your marketing, right? You need to know what people are thinking the second you open your mouth. And what a great speaker does is he controls the thought process of the audience in a direction where he knows what they're thinking. Because if I know what you're thinking and I say it as you're thinking it, I look like I'm reading your mind. I look like I'm totally connected to you. It also works to save yourself in situations where, let's say you blank. See what I did there? And you blank. Well, if I know I'm blanking, the audience knows I'm blanking, and they said, and if you acknowledge that with something so simple as, wow, now would be a great time for me to come up with the rest of my presentation, because that's what they're thinking, Yeah. And so you have just created this moment of connection with the audience, and it's something that works so well. You can't be, and that's why you can't be in your head when you're speaking. You have to be in the audience's shoes, and you have to know what they're thinking. So when you do those things, then you totally connect. And it's kind of like marketing, right? You have to know what the audience is thinking about and what their problems are. You've got to do a little research. And but we spend so much time doing so many things. And what I want to kind of get you to kind of talk about today, and if you have if marketing is slowing you down, if it's dragging you down because you're doing too many things, we got an expert here on automating it, and I want to kind of go over like the top 3 do's and don'ts if you have those off the top of your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I love automation when done right. I look at automation as having there's a few different versions you can do. There's the better than nothing version, which I think is a good place for people to start, because if you start, at least you've got some things off your plate. So let me back up a little bit here. When it comes to automating, you really want to identify those things in your business that you're doing over and over again that you don't need, that don't change very much. Then you can let a computer do it for you. And so a couple of things that I typically look at to start, and a lot of people use like reminder sequences for appointment booking. If you use a Calendly kind of thing, there you get those reminders. Well, you've got an opportunity to really customize those using a system like mine or whatever system it is.
Let's use yours. Let's sell yours.
Let's use mine. Okay, let's use mine. So yeah, I mean, being in a platform like SalesEdge.io, you've got the ability to completely customize it. And so instead of taking the standard, your appointment is scheduled for Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, not that it's reading it to you, but maybe it is reading it to you when you're consuming it, but you can put some personality into it. And I mean, you experienced one of my reminders, when we chatted, was it last week?
Yep.
Do you remember the one that you brought up when we talked?
Oh God, I do remember it, but I don't remember it right now.
So it was the one with the picture with my kids.
Oh yes. That's absolutely fabulous. And I just put salesedge.io if you want to get more information about Jeremy and his system. But yeah, it was a fantastic reminder, and it also reminded me of something that I suggested to a client of mine, to have their kids draw postcards and send it to potential clients. And it just sucked me in. And the first thing, what he did is he would know the first thing that I said off of his marketing. And the first thing I mentioned was, "Oh, that was a fantastic pic. Your kids are looking at me like, oh, who wouldn't do that with Adorable?" We got one comment out there so far from actually the person who sent me one of your works, and it asked, that was so simple and clean. What system are you using? That's who I asked it, and there it is, Lori.
Yeah.
Her comment, two of my favorite people. Yes, awesome.
Love it.
Thank you.
Love it.
So what are some examples of things that you could automate? Assume that the audience, everybody always assumes the audience is so smart, but they're the people we're trying to reach out, they're confused. And
Right.
I'm one of them. It's like I do all kinds of things to try and make it easier on myself. And if you do have something that you're trying and it's not going well, and you want to come in and ask questions directly of Jeremy, shortwaylive.com. Also, if you are seeing this later and you want to get questions to Jeremy, you can put them in the comments, and then I can make sure he gets them. You can send it to him direct. But that's the key thing there, is just get your questions out there. So you got an expert on here who does amazing things with marketing. So tell us some things that people might overlook as something that they could automate.
So, I mean, there's many things, but even so, let's go really simple.
Yeah.
Because when I say automate, people start thinking fancy workflows and these complex built-out campaigns, and it doesn't need to be that. I think automation, and this isn't totally automation, but the starting point is, if you have an email that, my computer's doing something. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. If you've got an email that you send the same or similar message to every time. One example that I use is when I'm booking calls. When somebody is booked for a demo with me, or on the sales consulting and coaching side, if they're booked for a strategy session with me, they get the reminders. But the other thing that I do is, at the exact moment the clock turns whatever time it is for our meeting, I have an email template that I send. It's very simple, because I just click drop down, template, send, and it just says, "Hey, first name, I'm all set for a meeting. Here's the link in case it didn't come through in the invite." But I only need to do 2 clicks and it's sent.
Yeah.
And then if for some reason they don't show up, and luckily there's some things that I do in my system that no shows are very rare, but I won't say they never happen. And so if somebody hasn't shown up by 4 or 5 minutes in, there's another one that I send. I call it the "we missed you" message, because I'm not going to sit around for more than 10 or 15 minutes waiting for somebody. But it's basically, "Hey, sorry, we missed you. I hope everything is okay and you just got tied up. Either way, here's a link to reschedule if you like. Otherwise," and I forget what the last line is, but 2 clicks and it gets sent again. And so I don't need to waste a pile of time going, "Oh, how should I word this? Oh, will it be too offensive if I do it this way?" And we overthink this stuff, but if you can get it right the first time and just have a template that you can drop down, no matter what CRM you're using, but of course, Sales Edge can do it, and I love it. Just a couple of clicks and you're good to go. So that's the simplest. Any email that you're regularly doing, using it as a template built in the system, they're called snippets. But it makes it so much easier, so you don't overthink this stuff. Because I've found myself spending 25, 30 minutes writing an email. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And even if I spent that time the first time, I don't have to spend it again because I've got the template. If I would just make sure I'm using the snippets as they're supposed to be used for everything.
Well, it's amazing to me that we spend this. We want to send the perfect email, and in all the research I did about emails and all the different things about human connection, and if somebody loves you, not like you're trying to get them as a new client, but if they love you, they will look at 26 seconds of an email. That's it, 26 seconds. So why do people send out these first emails that are so long? So long. It's unbelievable. When person's going, what, huh? And when they start with, hope this finds you well. Not anymore. Click, off it goes. That first sentence is your prime real estate in your marketing. And if you don't use it well, actually the subject line is really your prime real estate, because if that doesn't get them to open up, then nothing else happens. But and people will put these mile-long subject lines that I can save you money and get you, the $1 million and this kind of thing. And it gotta be short, less, 5 or 6 words at most, and not one word, because people think that's an AI generated thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's really weird. You put one emoji, it's in good. 2 emojis, not so good. There's all kinds of little things like that. And I created this program called the 26-second email, 26-second outreach, based on that, based on some things I learned to do at marketing, based on a book called Smart Brevity. And I combined all those things with the way I talk. And I said, 26-second outreach. And it's so simple. The easiest emails have made me the most money. And
one of my, it's funny, it shows you how simple it can be when you're not trying. I think my highest open rate in 2016, 2017, the system that I was using by default, it was like an email newsletter template, and the subject line was set, and it just said, change me. And one day I forgot to change it. And so my newsletter went out with the subject line, change me. And like 65% open rate. I was like, oh, I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, but it was enough to get them intrigued.
Now, here's something. Because I've got a couple that are, one is 100%. I've always had it opened. I don't use it in like a bulk thing. I use it for people.
Yeah. Well, that's cheating.
I know, but I mean, it's like you get a bulk email at 65%, for God's sake. That's amazing. But I like Change Me, because the 3 things that make a subject line work: curiosity, relevance, and specificity. Those are 3 things that will turn heads or make people want to know more. And I call it the lean-in factor. Really tell me more. And also when I get excited about an idea, one of the people who watches me do this a lot, saying like, you got to cut out doing that, because when you get excited, you start rocking back and forth. He goes, I know when you're getting excited, so I know you got something to say. And I filmed a video today. In the middle, I got excited, and I go, oh, damn it, he's right. But the curiosity is the one that piques me. And I think people need to pay attention to what gets them. Because if it gets you, it's going to get people like you, and then kind of deconstruct it. And then you can always have these little pieces of gems that never get old, because you're kind of creating your own joy from these kind of things. And you can more templatize the email. It's great if there's a personalization in there, but you can loosely have personalizations with, thanks for engaging with my post. They just clicked on something in LinkedIn. Well, thanks for engaging my post. Somebody sent me a beautiful one today that I'm actually going to respond to, because I'm not sure if it's a really serious inquiry or a very, very well-crafted sales pitch, but it got me. And so I want to find out more about what they do, because I want to pick their brain and talk about it. I'll talk to anybody about buying something from them, just because I want to hear what you have to say, because I'm fascinated by the human interaction it takes to purchase something. It's purely emotion, even if somebody's dealing with numbers.
It is.
It's the numbers of how, the CEO reports to the board. How does he feel when he's walking in with your numbers? that you created for him. Is he happy? That's going to be great. If he's sad, that's not so good. So you've got to remove the worry for him about presenting numbers to the board. And people don't think about the emotion behind the data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the data tends to come just to rationalize. Actually, yesterday I found myself, I was scrolling through a Facebook Marketplace, and I should be doing this close to Christmas, but I'm a fan of Brett Favre, former Minnesota Viking, former Green Bay Packer. For a minute, he was a Jet, but I'll call him a Viking. And I saw this woman who had this collection of football cards, and she said they're her late husband's, and it was a combination of Randy Moss and Brett Favre. And I just so happened to have been to one live game in Foxborough where the Patriots and the Vikings played.
Oh.
And Brett Favre was playing before he retired. Randy Moss was also a wide receiver in that game. And so I was like, oh, cool. Some cards, I'm interested. And I said, look, I'm curious about just the Brett Favre cards. And I'd be willing to pay, it was an emotional buy. I just like Brett Favre. He was the first quarterback I ever was a fan of. And so these trading cards, which probably aren't worth a whole lot of money, I was willing to pay what would be seen as a premium because it's Brett Favre. Yeah. But so she had 8 of those, and I think it was 56 Randy Moss cards from this collection. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want for just a Brett Favre? And she said she wouldn't separate the collection. I'm like, why? That seems crazy to me. And then she was so set. No, the price is, and I think she was asking $275 for these 62 cards or 62 cards. And I just wanted 8 Brett Favre cards, but she was so stuck in her ways. And part of me was like, forget it. This is kind of annoying. But then I thought, how can I rationalize paying money for a stack of Randy Moss cards a week before Christmas? And I started doing my own work. And then I went online, and I didn't know what cards she had because she's an older lady, didn't have a list or anything. She just has this emotional attachment to this collection that was hers and her late husband's.
Yeah.
And now I'm figuring out the average cost, the average value of a card, and then I'm making deals, negotiating with her, and all this work because it started as an emotional thing. And then in my mind, I'm going, Randy Moss is, overcoming cancer right now. It's a big deal. And I'm a fan. I'm just more of a Favre fan. And so I started I want something to happen into this deal so bad emotionally. I got sidetracked for at least an hour yesterday to try to rationalize it with data.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. I just started with, I just saw this thing on Marketplace. So anyway, we'll see. To be continued. But that emotion drives.
Well, that's the thing is that we, and what your system does and what I do with people, I'm trying to shorten the amount of work that they have to do to get the same results.
Yeah.
And people try so hard to connect to people, and they're just bad at it.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things that I'll mention. We'll come back to the main topic. I guess I got all sidetracked. We've never done that before, right? You and I getting, but at the end of the day, how can automation make somebody's life easier and make their business more successful? Well, one is replacing the monotonous activity that you do. Email is the stuff that comes to mind naturally, but one thing that's really powerful, we talked about calendar reminders. People can miss emails. People rarely don't check their text messages. It's on my system. So I make sure not in the one I don't think that you were in, but in my normal sales pipeline where there's a chance that people aren't going to show up, I give them text reminders. If I'm going to be no-showed, I want it to be on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be an accident because that's just wasteful, right? So I include the text just to make sure. Texts are a way to get in front of somebody. And on the marketing side, if you've gotten permission to text them, it's a really good way to get a message in front of them instead of being one of 1,000 unread emails in their inbox. So that's a big factor as well.
You're right. People always do check the text. And I try to sit there sometimes and reverse engineer where these people got my info from.
Yeah.
because somebody was wrong. Because during the election, I was getting texts from both sides, and they both wanted me to contribute. So I'm like going, huh? It's like that's bad intel right there.
Right. Yeah. One of the other things,
politics without taking a side.
right? There you go. You just say, I don't know which side you're messaging me from.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can get my support. Yeah. And the other part that I will mention is less on the communications with clients, but more so on how you're tracking how you're doing in your business. So there's a couple things that I really like. So for me, when somebody books an appointment with me, I have a new opportunity created automatically in my pipeline in a stage that says call booked. And so it's a sales opportunity. Now, somebody could just be connecting for the heck of it. Somebody could be connecting because they want to sell me something, but I want to make sure I at least am aware that it exists and it's showing up in a pipeline so that I can track that information down the road. And one of the nice things about the system, it allows you to mark if a call is, if somebody showed or they no-showed, what your conversion rate is, so you can track the outcome of those Zoom calls or phone calls or in-person meetings. And it shows you some data that gives you the ability to make more decisions and better decisions going forward. So that's one piece. Let the system automate some of that back-end administration that you should be doing and probably aren't. And then the other piece is it does, within Sales Edge, you've got the ability to send proposals and invoices and things like that. So for my last speaking engagement, I was able to automate sending out the proposal. And then the person clicked accept and signed off on it, e-signed it, then it automatically sent them the invoice, which then if they hadn't paid it, they would have gotten a reminder. and so we can so if you take the time to plan, that's the key. Take the time to plan in advance. You can put some things in place that save you a lot of money and even more so give you peace of mind. Because if you just know you've got a system designed to take care of the thing, you don't have to worry about the thing anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you find that, because here's I'll push back on something and see what you say about this. So I'm a big fan of nothing really good happens without a conversation, right? And the automation of the proposal is something that I would worry about, because the proposal, it's really a thing of second nature, where you go, here's what I'm going to do, blah blah blah. I guess now I'm seeing through my own ways right here. So we agree on something, and then I said, and I just have them agree in person, and then I go, I'll send you the formal proposal, and then so that's a done deal. Okay, yeah, I'm with. Never mind. Let's back that up. Okay.
Well, and the beauty of the system as well is that you can have it set up so that you've got a form ready. So if there's anything that needs to be tweaked, you can, there's some designing ahead of time to get it right. But you imagine you've got the same, 3 talks that you do maybe. And everything is pretty consistently the same. If you're the person that wants the brown M&Ms taken out of the bulb in the green room for you, I think that was the Rolling Stones, right? To see if people actually read the contract in detail.
I think so, yeah.
So, it tends to be the same basic idea with a few minor tweaks. And so in the system, you can say, do a form, say, okay, the price I'm going to choose is this is the talk I'm going to propose, and you can have it preset to go. And so it's still custom, but you don't need to start from scratch. And not even start from a basic template. You're starting from a 98% complete template, making the tweaks so that it's accurate, then saying, this is what we agreed upon, and wait for a signature.
I don't know if it was the Stones or not. I want to say either Van Halen, Aerosmith, or the Stones. If you know, put the answer in the comments.
Yeah. Who was that band that would put the request to remove all the brown M&Ms? I think it was brown M&Ms.
It was brown M&Ms or green M&Ms. I forget which, but one of them was removed from that. So yeah, that's a great thing to bring up there. What about if you were taking someone, so I'm going to start my own business, and I want to do this stuff, and they go, I can't afford to do anything. I just didn't do it myself. Okay. But what would you tell them 3 things not to do? These are all my favorites. So what's going to, 3 things that'll ruin your life thinking about marketing? I think you hit on one. It's like taking an hour and a half to write the perfect email.
Right. So, I mean, do you want to go philosophical or tactical?
Your choice.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the philosophical one, because when I started in business, so it's been a little over a decade now since I started my Permission to Sell consulting group, which is the core of what I do. Sales Edge is sort of like an add-on that came on a couple of years ago to help build the systems to support the sales for the people that I work with. And when I started off, I called myself the startup sales strategist, until I realized startups had no money unless they were venture backed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to see all these startups who were really enthusiastic about what they were doing, or were really passionate about the fact that they no longer had a boss, but they struggled to get off the ground. And I watched companies die before they had a chance to start. And it broke my heart. Like, I love seeing people win, and I was just seeing people lose.
Yeah.
And at the time, it felt like it wasn't the win or learn. It really felt like losing in that scenario, because they hadn't done enough to have any lessons other than, oops, I maybe shouldn't have lost or left my job that quick. So it wasn't any kind of feel good situation. So the first thing I want to say is that if you're going to go start your business, this is something from a mentor of mine. He said, everything you want in life is just outside your comfort zone. And so because of that, the tagline for Permission to Sell Consulting Group is get uncomfortable, get results. So push yourself outside. So step 1 is like, be willing to be uncomfortable. And then the resistance that most people have to me saying that is, well, but I don't, if first impression matters, and what, they're going to hate me, and it's going to ruin my reputation in the community. And this is the second piece. Nobody cares that much about you.
No.
And now sometimes I got to look in the mirror and tell myself that, right? Like, I'm going, what if I do this and it bombs? So nobody, no.
Yeah.
The best line, I don't remember where it came from, but those who care, or those who matter don't care, and those who care probably don't matter.
Yeah.
Right. So go for it.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, I'll censor it because we're streaming live, but a friend of mine used to say over and over again to me, F them if they can't take a joke. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
They're not paying your bills. If someone's upset with you, they're not the ones that are going to pay your bills, especially if they're upset about something. They're not going to give you any money, right? So go pay your own bills. Go do what you got to do. Build your legacy. Protect your family. Create what you need to create for you to feel like you're winning. And to do it, just know it might take you doing things that the people that you've been around all your life don't quite understand, and maybe you're a little bit nervous about, so might not support.
Yeah. And is safe happy? That's the real question. For some it is, for some it isn't. There's no right or wrong answer to that. But in order, and one of my great life defining moments was sitting in a wealth seminar and hearing the speaker say, the average millionaire goes bankrupt 2.5 times before they get to keep their money. And I was sitting there and I thought, half a time to go. Right. And that moment where you go from feeling bad about not being able to do something to, oh my God, I'm on the right track. I'm putting myself out there. I just haven't figured it out yet. And now I have. And it's like, oh, and I know for me, for example, one of the things I'm rolling out next year is to specifically design, because I went through something that I wish I had this. But I blew things out of the water when I worked for other people. Mm-hmm. But when I was by myself, I failed. And I had one of my mentors, David Newman, said, he said it to me years ago, but I didn't hear it until like a month ago, is that you're a great salesperson for yourself, but you're a bad sales manager for yourself. Yeah. And what I'm going to do, and really that's the backbone of the $1 Million Holiday Challenge is to test things out in this. I'm going to create myself as the fractional sales manager for solopreneurs. So those that need this kind of
accountability,
accountability. Thank you for that. I was going accommodation, okay, Atlantic Coast Conference. I don't know. I knew it was something, but those that need it can get it in a simple way, because it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a little push and some ideas, some brainstorming ideas that are better than the ones that ChatGPT comes up with, because those are all things that are a couple of years old that have been tried over and over and again. They're picking that out, and you have to take that. It's like having a good intern. You're going to take that and you're going to use it to enhance your business. I would never put the intern in charge of my business. I would let them do the little minion things that you're talking about with automating and do those kind of things.
Yeah.
But you don't need AI. You need Ray I. That's what you need. Right there.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And brainstorming is something I didn't realize that was a talent.
Yep.
And I call it binge thinking is what I call it. And you don't need a 12-step program to get out of binge thinking. And but one of the things that, coming from a comedy background, is comics see the logic of the words, not the logic of the idea. And so we see every single piece, and that is tremendous for sales, not from a humor standpoint, although that's a whole nother subject, but from the example of where can I go with this and how can I get in? How can I start this conversation? How can I keep the conversation going? What is important to that person? I can tell by talking to people. I can read facial expressions really well. And those type of things that I thought was just everybody had those, they don't. And I reversed engineered them and put them all in all these programs we're doing. That's what's paying the bills these days. So
yeah,
yep. There was a little rant for you. I was probably rocking when I said it too.
Yeah, like, you're gonna start catching yourself now when you're rocking.
I'm like, I get that's kind of how birds walk.
Yeah, it's the
or Mick Jagger singing.
Mick Jagger. Ostriches or Mick Jagger. Yeah.
You thought me up. Well, is there? Where can people get a hold of you? What can? I was trying to stop the banner that's up there now.
It's all good. So here a couple things that I'll do. One, if somebody wants to talk tech, wants to take a look at the system, and see what it can do. And to be clear, like, it's a system that, and we've sort of just barely touched on it, but the Sales Edge, it is the system that allows you to take all the things that you're probably using, and if you're not using, you probably should be using, and combine them into one platform. And so for the coaching audience or the speaking audience that we have, you want to create a course, it can do that. You want to create an online community that's not in a Facebook group, it can do that. You want to automate your social planning and schedule out the next 12 to 24 months of your social content that goes out, it can do that. You want to tap into an RSS feed of news that is applicable to your audience and make that shoot to your social, it can do that. Or if you're just starting and you're going, I need to make a list of people that I need to contact, but I don't want to lose track on who I contact, it can do that. Full CRM, keep your notes, track appointments, upload documents, your proposals, your invoices, all that jazz. So basically anything that you need outside of it won't do the selling for you. It'll help if you program emails and automations and texts and things like that. But it'll do everything else essentially. So as long as you know what you want to see, we can build it in Sales Edge. And so if you want to take a closer look, talk about how it may or may not fit your business, go to salesedge.io/demo. That'll give you a 45-minute spot on my calendar. Happy to chat and learn a little bit more about your business. That's really the key thing. And I do have, and Ray, I know you downloaded it today. It's been a little while since I looked at it. I do have a free gift if people are interested. I just got to get the link up here.
There's salesedge.io/demo is the and put it in the. We'll put these things in the comments too when I'm done, and I don't know if maybe I can put it in there now, but actually try putting it in the comments. I'll see if it shows up. If not, I'll put it
Okay.
We're learning as we go.
We're learning as we go. Exactly. Yeah, I'll get the link to the cheat sheet or the automation cheat sheet. I know you downloaded it earlier today, but
Yeah.
I came unprepared with the link for it. But yeah, there's many things that it can do. The most recent thing, and I'll just mention this for people that it might push a button for. I've been helping people design their affiliate programs using it. So tracking affiliate links. So if you've got even one client that's had a great experience with you and you want to say, you know what, I'd appreciate it if you sent me somebody that you knew could also benefit the way you did. Let's track it. Let's build it out. And let's, have an actual system so you can pay them in one click through PayPal. See exactly where your leads and prospects are coming from, and turn your raving fans into a commission-only sales force that you don't have to pay a penny to until you've closed the deal.
Well, the reason that we met was Lorianne, who was on here earlier. I'm on her email list, and she sent me like 2 or 3 emails, and they sounded like it was her. It didn't sound salesy or anything like that. But I know that she's not going to email me 3 days in a row. And I go, oh, this is a sequence. I go, and I said, what do you use? I've never seen everything's this simple. That was because I really take everything, three words I talk about all the time: clarify, simplify, amplify. And part of that is turning 8 words into 3. Take the 8 words you're thinking about telling me and turn them into 3. And that's what effective communication is about these days, because people don't have more than 26 seconds to catch people's attention. And so they were all simple and like that. And I really, really like that. And that's where she introduced us.
Yeah. And to the point about the short emails, like you talked about, I know you've talked about it on here before, but also in the holiday challenge, that short email of "it's been too long, let's connect." I went and added that as a templated snippet in my system, because I should be using that all the time. And it should actually be programmed of, like, if this person hasn't engaged in an email in 90 days, send them that.
Yeah.
It feels very personal, right? I think that's the kicker to feel authentic, or to seem authentic, is just making sure that when you're planning, that's the key when you're doing automations. The planning is, how do I make it feel like it's coming from me personally? Like it's coming from the heart. It's okay if you've got a heart-centered message for everybody, that's fine. Yeah. But when you just write it, take the time and go, like, what's the message that someone at this stage would want to hear, want to feel, and get them to move to that next action? It doesn't need to be a sales page.
No. And friends buy from friends.
Exactly.
And one of the things that you can do with your language is create the familiarity of friendship with potential clients. What that does, it's not a trick. It's nothing. It's how you talk to your friends. And what you're doing is you're creating a faster intimacy with this person, and they will feel as if they know you. So that game, what you're doing really is taking the game out of salesiness. I'm breaking that wall down that goes up when somebody comes up to you and says, "Can I ask you a question?" Okay, you put a wall up right there, and friends don't do that. Friends can sit on your couch and just make statements about, "Oh, nice lamp." Where did you steal that? Do you steal it from did it come from Italy? Fragile? What's the name of that? A Christmas Story. Christmas Story. It's that time of year. Yeah. Now that we can no longer use this as evergreen.
Right. You've said it. You've said Christmas.
Today. But yeah, SalesEdge.io. He's a fabulous person to work with. I had him on here. I met him once, and I knew I already liked him, and I know he does good work because I've seen the results of it. So you can rest assured you're in good hands with Jeremy DeMerchant, and come back next week. I won't be live next week because it is Christmas Day. But if you're sitting around Christmas, and that drunk Uncle Philo that's going to be there, that just kind of is going to go, he's going to start telling stories, and it's like, when I was a boy your age, there was this kid, Kenny, and you go, "Hey, Marge, was it Kenny or was it Billy that got me in that?" Yeah, Billy. It was Billy, And if you want some time away at 11 o'clock Pacific, pop on right here. You can't join me live that day, but there will be a video where we'll be talking something. We might just make up some stories for Christmas and just have some fun doing that. That's always fun to do. But if you have questions and you're seeing this afterward, put them in the comments, and we'll make sure that Jeremy gets to them. And until next week, America, Canada, Australia, England, all the other places that listen to me. If you're in some other place, put it in the comments too, and I'll include it next time. Oh, I know I got Ireland in there because we've got Chris that comes in from Ireland, the Olympics, the Special Olympic gold medal winner. Big fan of the show. So thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate you.